Appreciate you joining me all the way from Colombia, Medellin, I believe.
I'm in Medellin here in Colombia.
Your pronunciation of it is far better than mine. Put me to shame instantly there, but let's crack on from that point. Yeah, we're here to talk about the ongoing Copa America. At time of recording, we've just reached the semi-final stage. I'll get that out there straight away in case anybody's listening after the fact to this one in a few days' time. Interesting semi-final lineup, actually. We'll touch on that along the way. We'll start off with, we're going to talk about Liverpool players that have been involved and participated in Copa America. We're going to start off with one that's just been eliminated, actually, in Alisson Becker, just to kind of catch up on how he did during the tournament. It's important to mention he was obviously the undisputed number one, really, for Brazil in this particular tournament, it felt like. Big saves along the way, came in for some criticism for his lack of penalty saving exploits in the end, Simon. I mean, what did you make of his tournament? What have the Brazilian fans made of his tournament? I mean, famously not very forgiving, I imagine, the Brazilian fans when it comes to the football.
Yeah, I think he wouldn't have been faced much criticism because Brazil in general have been pretty bad and have been, in a long decline. It's incredible how poor they've been in qualifying. They weren't good at this tournament. The game against Uruguay was crazy. was South American football, as you perhaps imagine it. Lots of arguing and fighting, and the manager's been particularly poor, I'd say, for Brazil. So nobody's really talking about the goalkeeper. Again, a solid tournament. No big errors, no big issues. The Alisson, I suppose you'd expect. So yeah, perhaps he could have done something more in the shootout, but it's always difficult to criticize a goalkeeper. You like one save, but it's hard to criticize a goalkeeper. So I'd say his reputation hasn't been enhanced or damaged by this tournament, but I think Brazil in general continue to disappoint, particularly in attack, because it's not looking good. Vinicius has turned up for one game, apart from that, nothing, and very, very disjointed. So very poor Brazil, but I think Alisson was, as you'd expect, which is generally pretty good.
He gets out pretty much unscathed then. That's nice to hear. You mentioned the attack that I did see, actually, the Hendrick statistic floating about. I think the only pass he completed was from the actual kickoff, which is eye-opening and not in a good way. An incredible talent, by the way. Let's get that out there straight away. But yeah, that is not the sort of statistic or the game you want sort of attached to your name at any point, I think it's fair to say. We'll move on then. We'll move on to Uruguay. You mentioned it just there. Obviously, came to Brazil's downfall in the end. I think it's fair to say, Simon, Darwin Nunez inspired Uruguay for a large part of this tournament. Less so in the past couple of games. Actually, was taken off before the penalty shootout. We should also say that they go straight to penalties and no extra time. Nonsense down in Copa America as well, which is nice. But yeah, talk to us about Darwin's tour. I guess actually you go further back when it comes to Darwin because he's enjoyed a real sort of hot streak when it comes to international football.
Yeah, he's become obviously Uruguay for years and years was a team that had a strong defense, had some very talented attackers, and then the midfield wasn't so good. I'd say the midfield has become the key to Uruguay over recent years. There's been a big increase in quality in the middle of the pitch. And then obviously there was Suarez and Cavani. These guys have stepped aside. So it was really the opportunity for Darwin to be the main man in the middle. And I think he's done very well. I think he suits, as I say, I think previously Uruguay would play with two strikers. They'd have everyone behind the ball and then they'd get it forward and then try and hope that the strikers would make some magic on their own. I think now, again, the focus definitely is in the midfield. And I think Darwin is well suited to be the lone striker with his energy, with his ability to compete in physical duels, with his able to run the lines. And he does all that. We've seen at Liverpool that he's a ball of energy. He makes things happen. He's a bit chaotic, but often in a good way. And that obviously suits the system there in Uruguay. Again, I think it's what you'd expect with Darwin. Missed some massive chances as well along the way. I was surprised when Uruguay took him off because they brought on Diarra, who's an amazing player, but is more of a number 10. And I think it really did show that Darwin is the only out-and-out 9 that they have, which is great for him. Obviously, there's other players in there, but there doesn't feel like there's a natural replacement. So I think it will give him the confidence that he's the main man, even if he misses some chances, because he definitely missed a big one against Brazil. So I think that will give him confidence, and I think it's confidence that he can take into his club game as well. when he goes off with the national team, he's not getting 20 minutes off the bench anymore. He's the main man and one of the first names on the team sheet. So I think that's positive for Uruguay and positive for Liverpool as well.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. It's nice to hear that it's a running trend with Darwin Nunez in terms of missing chances, not just at Liverpool. But I did see his quotes actually on that. Obviously, I think they were in Spanish at the time. It's since been translated inaccurately or accurately about him sort of taking or needing 9 or 10 chances, but don't worry, I'll score the 11th one. I'm not quite sure whether he's doing himself a disservice in that or not really, but go
Yeah,
on.
no, I think too often strikers are judged on their like shot, their chance completion. I think I'd rather have a striker who makes things happen
Okay.
than one who relies on someone else giving him one chance.
Yeah.
I think those strikers are really undervalued, and particularly in the modern game, it's you don't have someone standing in the penalty box waiting to kick the ball into the net. I mean, Manchester City maybe can get away with it with Haaland at times, but you really want the striker to have an impact, occupy the defence, make things happen, create space, and I think Darwin Nunez is very, very good at all of that. And again, there's always that feeling that it's just going to click, and he'll just put them all away, and then he'll be the best striker in the world. But again, I like him. I like what he does. I like his energy, his work rate, his attitude. Like, you have to be very brave to continue to put yourself in those positions. And so I respect that. And I think he's a very good player.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all waiting for it to click here. And I listen, for what it's worth, I'm a big Darwin Nunez fan as well. I really like him, and I'm with you. I think there's a lot to his game that goes unnoticed, and we do just highlight those missed chances and stuff like that. But I absolutely adore him. And I am also in the camp of wanting to score more as well. So it's a real sort of fine balance. Just wanted to pick up on something, though. You mentioned the word chaotic, and obviously we know Marcelo Bielsa is a manager at Uruguay now, and his football can be quite chaotic as well. Do you think he is getting the best out of Darwin Nunez? You mentioned some of the sort of the tactical stuff and the system stuff. He is very much the main man there. Is it as simplistic as Bielsa has found the key to unlocking this, better version of Darwin, really?
I think Bielsa would drop him if he wasn't a good fit. Like, I don't think Bielsa would just pick the best 11 players in terms of like technical ability. Like, for example, I mentioned the Escaeta coming on. He's been a very important player for Uruguay, and he's found himself with less minutes because he doesn't fit the style of play, doesn't have the same energy or the same, aggression, the dynamism, the directness of someone like Darwin. So I just think it's a good fit. I just think he's the kind of player Bielsa was always going to appreciate and always going to value because of what he brings on the ball, off the ball, his movement. Bielsa doesn't care if you miss some chances because you're playing with that intensity, you're taking it to the opposition, and that's what Darwin does very, very well. So I think there was never any doubt that Bielsa was always going to love him. And again, I think he's responded well to that support.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with you there.